Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session on interactivity in Zoom. This will work for faculty or for staff as well. So, hey, let's just jump right in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and sort of walk you through some of the items that we're going to see today. Then Jonah's going to follow up with polling at the end. So let's go ahead and take a look at our agenda and get the show on the road. All right, so we're going to look at Zoom, interactive tools, and away we go. The first slide here shows us what we're going to see. We're going to take a look at reactions. We're going to take a look at nonverbal responses. They're a great way to get some interactivity going. Of course, chat's always interactive. We'll take a look at some screen sharing, breakout rooms, and also polling. So I'll do the first five, and Jonah's going to jump in and take us through polling at the end. Again, this session is being recorded, so you don't have to take as detailed notes, but feel free to give it a shot anyway, right? So I'm going to jump right in right now and show you what's called the control bar. This control bar, in this instance, is the host control bar. You can see I've got security, I've got participants, polls, chat, share screen, record, breakout rooms, and reactions. If you wave your mouse over your screen, you'll have what's called a participants control bar, and you have a few different reactions there. A few different options there. So go ahead and take a look at those and sort of see the differences between what a meeting host has versus a meeting attendee, or faculty versus student. So the first one that we're going to take a look at is the reactions right here. And if we go ahead and click on that reactions button, you'll see that it provides an opportunity to just give a quick reaction. Like Jonah, as you can see, if you look at our list of videos, Joel just raised his hand, I could see. Tammy's giving a thumbs up. They'll stay up there for about 5 seconds, okay? So when they come up, pop up, that thumb will hang out for about 5 seconds, and then it'll go away. Where I've seen this used a lot recently is with, it's just for reactions. For instance, in the president's cabinet, he's talking about some good work that, someone like Kurt Klettner's done, and, we're all giving a thumbs up and a little applause and everything, and Joel's still raising his hand. And so this is, again, just really quick interactive stuff. Like I can say, hey, do you all like puppies? And what's your reaction, right? Is that a thumbs up? Or maybe an applause, right? Tammy likes puppies. There you go. So here's the thing. You can see these are sort of flesh-colored hands. I'm going to stop. Well, I actually can't stop right now, but if you go over and click on your, let's just stop this real quick. If you go over and click where it says stop or by video, there's an up arrow there. If you click on that in your control bar and you go to video settings and you go under general, you can actually pick a reaction skin tone. So if you go ahead and check that out, by the video under general, you can sort of pick a reaction skin tone that that you like for your reaction. So that's kind of neat. I just wanted to share that. That's a really like I said, sort of quick and easy way to get some folks involved. So another way that's a little bit more involved is to use the participants button. So I'm going to go ahead and click on participants, and as you can see here, I get this participants with it. You can do so on your own, on your screens if you like. If you can see them, right, when we get back there. The participants button will bring up what's called the pop-out view of the participants window. So you can see in this particular meeting that I recorded parts of, there was 3 people in attendance, me, Jack faculty, and Jill student. You can see the information that's provided here. There's a microphone, meaning my audio was on, but nobody was using video, right? If I want to dock this to the side of my meeting window so that it's always available to me, and that's really useful to do with what we're about to see with these nonverbal responses, I can go ahead and click on the more, that 3-dot button is called more, right? So I click on more, and then I can click merge to meeting window, and when I do that, it'll end up looking something like this. So you see I have my Zoom meeting window all over here with my control bar, But now my participants window is available off to the side. It's docked there now. It's pinned there. So it's merged onto the window. So that's always going to be available for me. And that's important if you're going to plan to use these nonverbal responses and these nonverbal cues. And they're all down here on the bottom. Yes, no, go slower, go faster, more, and clear all. If you're the instructor, you can clear them all out. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into those. I'm going to admit Phil McClung. There we go. Come on in, Phil. So let's take a look at those buttons in a little bit more detail. As you can see, and this is where your faculty creativity, right? This is where your staff creativity is going to come into play. You know, you have to think of ways to incorporate this technology into your instruction or into the training or the information session that you're planning to do. So you can always do polling, which we're going to see later. This is more of a quick polling style. So you got yes, no, go slower, go faster. And then if you click more, you actually get the thumbs up, thumbs down, the clapping hands. If you hover your mouse over these, they'll tell you what they mean, right? So if I hover my mouse over the coffee cup, it'll say that, you know, I need a break. That's how you tell somebody that you need a break. Show them the coffee cup. The clock means that you actually had to step away for a moment. So maybe you got a phone call, maybe you had to take a restroom break, but you can put that up when you're actually not there, right? When you had to step away for a moment. So those are useful. And what happens is they are all displayed in that participants window. So I'm going to go ahead and click forward, and we can take a look at this example. Again, there are 3 people in the meeting. There's a lot of information here. The host has his audio on. Nobody has their video on. We can see that Jack faculty has his hand raised because he has a question he wants to ask. And we can still see that Jill student has had to step away, right? So if you just look over, if you dock that participants bar and scan over that and encourage people to use it, it can be really useful, as I'm about to demonstrate. Another way that this could be used is in committees. For instance, for thumbs up, thumbs down votes, we have the curriculum committee, and we do a lot of thumb up, thumb down votes on things. And this is a great way to do that virtually. You can just say, hey, you know, what do you think about math, 375? And as you can see here with this response, we got 2 thumbs up and a thumb down. And you're probably thinking, okay, Chris, that's great with 3 people. That's really easy to count and assimilate. No issue there. But I have 30 people in my class, or I have 70 people in this meeting. How am I supposed to figure out, what those tallies are? And the good news is that row of icons I showed you at the bottom, it actually keeps track. So you can sort of glance down there and click more and see that 2 people, have responded thumbs up versus 1 down, or 27 have responded yes versus no. So there's kind of some quick and easy feedback that you can get from people based on this. So let's give it a shot. What do you think? I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to bring up my participants list. And then I'm going to ask a question. So go ahead and respond to me with your nonverbal responses. Has Zoom been helpful for you during the quarantine? That's the question. Has Zoom been helpful for you? Seen a lot of yeses, seen a lot of thumbs up. Yeah, lots of them, right? Go ahead, everybody. I'll give everybody a chance to respond. As you can see, it's critical to get your students involved in this, right? And we'll have a session for them in the first couple of weeks of class that talks about this as well and shows them how to be a good participant. But yeah, so we can see most of the folks here. That's very good. And if we go down here, I can see that 7 people have given it the thumbs up, which is very nice. And 6 people have said yes. So that's a pretty good. That's 13 out of 19. Very nice. So I'm going to clear all. And then let's go. Are you ready to return to campus? I got a no. I got 3 no's. And 1 clap. Nice. So of course, you all can see those tallies on your end as well. So it's kind of neat. The students can kind of take a look at that response and sort of make their own judgments about what's happening. It's it's really cool that it provides that information for everybody that's involved. All right, let's do one more. This will be the easiest one. Elvis Presley, thumbs up, thumbs down. Yeah, we got a lot of Elvis fans. And a couple folks that, you know, think it's time to move on, right? Nice. So that's really, I should have mentioned, you can put any of your questions or concerns in the chat, and we'll fish those out as well. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. But that's really a brief example of what you can do with that. That's something that you can use to do quick opinion surveys with students, post-lecture activities, pre-lecture activities. A lot of interactivity there that you can have with the students beyond just presenting one way to them, right? I would build these breaks in as part of the process, you know, do a one-way delivery for, you know, 8 or 10 minutes, then throw one of these in, go back a little more, throw another one of these in. Just, you know, vary the technologies and the approaches that you're using with the students, because that'll actually keep them more engaged. And these little tiny breaks are important. I was talking with the provost yesterday in our meeting, and he had been in a 3-hour Zoom meeting the day before and was just like exhausted. You know, I mean, it takes a lot out of you. So these frequent breaks are going to, or breaks in general, are going to be important, especially if you want a lot of interactivity. So I'm going to jump back over and share now. We're going to keep moving. And here we are back in PowerPoint. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next item, which is the chat. Now, the chat, again, you click on it and it pops out. But then you've got the More button here, so you can click that, and then you can merge that to your meeting window as well. So now your window can look something like this, where you've got all your participants up here and you've got all your chat going down here, which means you're pretty much ready to participate interactively with your students. So you can see what they're doing and you can see where everyone's communicating. Now there's some options for chat. You can make it private, you can make it public, and you can, I actually forgot to include that slide, but you can set that. It's down here. You can click this, click the More, and they will tell you, give you there the options to, if you just want people to publicly chat, if you don't want them to have the ability to chat privately. Now, why was one good versus the other? If you have a private chat enabled, somebody can send something nasty to somebody else, right? I mean, they can do that. However, if you have a private chat enabled, let's look at the positive side of that. Let's say you have student groups, and I'm in a group with, you know, Sally's student, and we're watching your lecture, and I send a chat message over to Sally, just her privately, and say, wow, Sally, this is great. We should include this concept in our presentation. So, you know, that's where that private chat can be really useful. So they can sort of work on their side projects related to the class without having to involve everyone in the class. So that's where those options are going to come into importance for you. All right, let's jump back over. Let's go to screen sharing. I'm going to tell you now, I'm not going to run through really the annotation part of screen sharing, because that is included in a separate video that I shared before this session. And basically, and there's just a lot that you can do there. But what I want to say is that when you're sharing your screen, others can annotate on it, right? So if you've got a PowerPoint up here, I can say, hey, Jonah, you know, draw a circle around this element in this diagram, you know, to see if he knows where it's at. And on the other hand, if Jonah is giving a PowerPoint presentation, if he's sharing his screen as a student, I can also then annotate on his screen while he's working and say, you know, can you explain this, you know, point an arrow right to something and say, can you explain this part of that? So annotation can be really powerful for interactivity. I'm just not going to spend a lot of time today you know, drawing things on here and showing you how to do the hearts. They're pretty self-explanatory, you know, after you watch the video. But so if I want to screen share, the first thing I do is I look at my security, right? Because if I click on security, I can see that I can allow participants to share their screen right here, right? If I set that there, everybody can share their screen. So that's one option for screen sharing. The other option is that you come back to the screen share button and you click this up arrow, and then you get some advanced sharing options there as well. I would just leave it as one participant can share at a time. We haven't really had a lot of opportunity to mess with the multiple participants sharing simultaneously. So I would just leave it one at a time, and then you click advanced sharing options. And again, we do the one at a time, and then who can share, only the host or all participants. You could also set all participants there as well. So basically, that's how you allow someone else to share. And then once they're sharing, it looks something like this for you as the host. So here we are. It says, whoops, got that messed up. Yeah, this should say you are seeing Jill's screen actually instead of your, oh no, I'm sorry. You were viewing, had my, I'm sorry, I had my screen share toolbar over this toolbar that's in my screen capture, so I couldn't actually see it. Okay, so you can see here, we are viewing Jill's student screen. This will tell us here. And then you can also see over in that useful participants window, this green button looks suspiciously or exactly like this green button down here, so we can look over to the participants list and see who's sharing. So, or anybody can see that as well. However, what's probably going to happen at some point is your student's going to share and they're not going to be able to turn it off, right? You're gonna have to help them close it. So what you do in that case is you click view options and then stop participant sharing. So you just want to click that option, that'll stop their sharing and bring them back. And also, as you can see in there's that annotate option too. So if I click annotate there, I can go ahead and start drawing on Jill's screen. And if your students have annotation options, they can start drawing on your screen too if you ask them to. So there you go. That's the basics of sharing. You just want to, I'm just going to show you real quick that you can annotate, can draw a little circle. Can't draw a circle very well, but I'll tell you what, it has a circle. It's much better, so I can do a circle like that. You can follow my mouse around as well. So there's a lot you can do with annotations. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time working with those. That's really a separate training, but it's a lot of fun and it's a great way to get some interactivity going. So that's screen sharing. All right, now I'm going to clear all the annotations off of here. There we go, clear all the drawings off. All right, so breakout rooms. This is a great way to get student-to-student interaction going. If you have groups, I'm going to show you at the end how you can pre-assign breakout rooms with your groups in mind. So if you already have your students divided into groups, you can say, hey, I want to break them out into breakout rooms based on their groups. So you can pre-assign all that. We'll talk about that near the end after we go through some examples. But basically, breakout rooms are, we can take this group of people. How many participants do we have here? 16, 18, 20. We can take this group and break you into however many breakout rooms that we want. And this is great to have students talk about small group discussion, to have different groups of students talk about different subject areas, and then you can bring them back from their breakout groups and report out on what they discussed. So they're really pretty cool. This is kind of the key to interactivity, because it's really hard to get student-to-student interactivity going, you know, in a lot of different ways. So I'm going to click on breakout rooms. And as you can see, I get some options here. I've only got 2 participants in this meeting right now, so it's, you know, it's going to be limited, but I can assign these 2 participants into a room automatically or manually. Now, manually is obviously if you want to keep, you know, Sally and Tommy separate, you know, you're going to want to do it manually so that they don't actually get thrown into the same room if you think that's going to be an issue, right? They tend to dominate the conversation, so you want to split them up, for instance. So I'm going to click, I'm going to let it happen automatically. I would suggest doing that for the first few times while you get your feet underneath you managing the rooms, and while students get their feet underneath them participating in the rooms. So I would, if I was going to be using this for my class in the fall, I would have a couple of these activities where I would break them out in the first couple of weeks, get them used to it for lower stakes items, and then start increasing the usage and frequency and what I was asking from them, like maybe some group participation for some higher stakes later on in the course. So I would just do it automatically for now, and like I said, get into the habit of using it. And so you just click Create Rooms, and then you get this Breakout Rooms Not Started window, right? And we can see here that Jack and Jill are going to go into this breakout room, and that's fine. But you can see down here, we also have some options. So I'm going to click on the options, and you can see I can move them all into breakout rooms automatically. That's fine. I can click that. Allow them to return to the main session at any time. Now, I don't really want that, right? I would uncheck that box if I was doing this breakout room, because I want you to stay there until, you know, I want you to come back. I don't want folks leaking back into the main room. If you finish early, right, stay in your room. And you can close automatically after 5 minutes, for instance. So you can just say 5 minutes, and then the rooms will close and everybody will come back. So you don't even have to do anything in that case. And then you can also, I usually do like to add a countdown, because the room will close, like say after, if I set it for 5 minutes, the room will close. But then, you know, sometimes you always have that discussion at the end, and it's just, it'll throw an extra 60 seconds on there for them and just say, okay, wrap it up. You've got a minute to wrap this up, and then it'll kick them all out, essentially. So those are my options there. Select those ones that I want, and then I click Open All Rooms. And what happens then is you see this Breakout Rooms in progress. And if I had more rooms, they would be listed here. And there's a little drop arrow so that you can see who's in each one. And if I want to jump into this room, I just click join, and I'm literally in there. I can jump from room to room, right? So I can just join right there. A nice cool thing about this that I'll demonstrate here in a little bit is that you can actually broadcast a message to everybody that's in the room, so on all the rooms. So you just click and say, hey, I'm going to be shutting down the rooms in 2 minutes, so you better get a move on, right? And then click broadcast. And so that is pretty neat, as I'll demonstrate a little later. I'll put you in breakout rooms here in a second and broadcast a topic to you. So, and then we would click, when we're done, we would click close all rooms. If we wanted everybody to, you know, come back at our command, we could just click close all rooms. The rooms get closed, everybody gets brought back. So that's really Zoom breakout rooms with a quick flyover look. So while we see if you have any questions about that, I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to throw us in some breakout rooms. Any questions before you get thrown into your rooms? All right, I'm probably going to do this automatically. What do we got? We got 19 people. I'm going to put 5 in a room. So I'm going to click, I'm just going to narrate as I'm doing it, right? I'm clicking breakout rooms. I've got 18 participants. I want to assign them to, I'm going to do 6 rooms. That'll be 3 apiece. I click create rooms, and are you seeing messages to join rooms now? Hello? No, not yet. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open them up. Okay, so you should be getting a join message. There you go. All right, and here we all are back, right?
Yep.
Was that your first experience in a breakout room?
Yes.
Pretty neat, right?
Yes.
All right, so that's really my part of the presentation. I'm just going to jump back real quick to my share, introduce that if you want to pre-assign people to breakout rooms, you have to do it while you're scheduling a meeting, right? And that's going to take place at wvup.zoom.us. You can log in with your college email and password, of course. And inside there, when you're creating a meeting, you'll have these meeting options, and you'll recognize some of these: mute participants, enable waiting room, and then there's the breakout room pre-assign. So you can import from a CSV, which is basically you put the student's name and the email in there and import it in. We can help you create that file if you have 50 students that you want to import. And then you can break them up into different rooms. And I'm just going to click create rooms real quick and show you what that looks like briefly. You just click create rooms, and then you have this breakout room assignment. window where you can add a room and add different groups. This is just a copy of that, so I can't click through the process right now, but that's how you do that. So you can go ahead in and say, you can grade everybody's papers and say, oh my goodness, these people did really well in this topic, these did well in this topic, these did well in this topic, and you can put them in those rooms based on those topics, for example. So that's a neat use of pre-assigning. However, right now, we're going to take a look at polling, another really cool feature that you can use with your pre-lecture, post-lecture, for reading checks, all kind of options for these polls. So I'm going to hand it over to my esteemed colleague, Jonah, and let him take it away.
And today, what I plan on doing is walking everybody through how to create a poll within Zoom, deploy that poll within your Zoom meeting, and then how to print out a report after your meeting has ended if you want to see what your students have answered on any of your poll questions. Just like breakout rooms, by deploying a poll within your meeting, it also adds and creates more interactivity between you and your students as you are in your meeting. So it's always beneficial, and it's also beneficial too if you want to throw a poll question out there halfway through to make sure everybody's still paying attention or that they're there. So first thing I will do is show you how to go ahead and create that poll prior to your meeting. Once you have scheduled your meeting, you'll go back log into your account in Zoom, go to wvup.zoom.us, and then you're going to go ahead and click sign in, and you're going to get the screen that you should all be familiar with on how to log into Zoom by using your WVUP email as your username, entering your password, which should also be your WVUP email, and clicking sign in. Once you get into your meeting, and I forgot to annotate, so give me 1 second to get in there and do that. You're going to want to make sure once you get on your Zoom home screen that your meetings is highlighted. Once you do that, you go to upcoming meetings and you find your meeting. My particular meeting is test meeting. Once you click on that, you scroll to the bottom of your screen, and where it says poll down here, make sure that is highlighted. You will click add. Once you do that, your poll question box is going to show up. You can create a name for your question pool. I made mine pretty simple for a lecture on the meeting that I created on June 23rd. You then have a choice to click yes or no to anonymous. By clicking anonymous, you will never know what your students have answered to that poll. If you go to poll reporting, all you'll see is what the answers were to your poll questions. It will not show who answered what. So, I mean, it's up to you if you choose to make a poll anonymous or if you want to see what your students' responses are. That's what happens when you either click that box or unclick it. Once you make that determination, you type in your question. This particular question I asked was, did you do your reading assignment prior to today's class? And then you have the option to type in your answers. There's a choice here that you have to make, whether you want your students to be able to only answer one correct answer, or if you want them to be able to click multiple answers. That's the difference between single choice and multiple choice on your poll question. Once you've typed your entire question in, you'll scroll down to the bottom, and you've got two choices. You can either add an additional question to your poll, or you can go ahead and hit save to save all the questions for that poll that you're ready to do. Now you've created your poll, you're back to your regular meeting screen. You have an option here. If you want to add an additional poll, you can. You can create as many polls within your lecture as you want, or you can add as many questions as you want, depending on if you want to edit or you want to add. So now that we have created our poll, we're going to get ready to deploy it in our meeting. Now we are within our meeting, and of course I'm in meeting with myself. And once you're in your meeting, you're going to click on the polls button on the bottom of your screen. Once you click on that, you verify the question that you want to ask. This is the question that I asked if everyone has read their assignment. And if that's the question that I want to deploy, because as of right now, you'll notice this is a black bar. When the bar is black, that means your poll is not being viewed by other people. When you choose to launch your poll, you will notice that the bar will go from black to green. And of course, now that you have launched your poll, your students are able to see the question that you've asked. And if you check up here, you can see how many of your students have already voted. And normally once you get a certain percentage, or once they've all voted, you can go ahead and choose to end your polling. And once you do that, you can take a look at the answers. Notice the bar up here went black again. That means that the students are viewing a blank screen. If you like the results of the poll and you want to share those results, go ahead and click your button, and notice that the bar turned green again. So in this particular case, no one knew there was a reading assignment for my particular class. At this point, you have a choice to either stop the share results and get back to your lecture, or if you have another poll that you want to launch, you can choose to relaunch that as well. So if you want to get out of this screen, you can close your polling by clicking on the box in the upper right-hand corner. And now what I'm going to do is stop share real quick, and I'm going to deploy a poll for you guys to answer. So I have a 3-question poll, and I'm going to ask everybody if you use waiting rooms for your meetings, and how often you plan on using polling for your meetings. And a multiple answer question is, what 2 colors represent the WVU Mountaineers? So we'll go ahead. The poll is deployed. You guys can go ahead and answer those questions. Give you guys some time. Okay, we'll give it about 10 more seconds. Okay. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and end polling since we got 100% participation. And now I'm going to share the results. You should be able to see. It looks like, if we include sometimes, the majority of you do use waiting rooms, at least most of the time, for your meetings. Congratulations and kudos. On a side note, Zoom in the future is going to be making it mandatory that your meetings are either going to have a waiting room or a password. So this is something, Chris, do we know what date that's going to be? I think Zoom moved that back, didn't they?
I believe that's July 19th.
That is still July 19th, okay. I thought I saw they were pushing it back to August, but I didn't clarify that before the meeting today. Second question, of course, was how often you plan on using polling in your meetings. Kudos to everyone again. We're split close to 50-50 on at least occasionally, sometimes or always. And looks like somebody was funny on the orange for the Mountaineers. Chris, I'll blame you on that one. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share results. And now we're going to continue with our meeting. Something that I will share with you now is what happens. Oh, come on. Forgive me. Once your meeting is over, how can you find and download your polling report? So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the Zoom account homepage. You're going to go down here and click on Account Management. Once your account management bar opens up, you've got quite a few options there. You want to click on the Reports option. Once you get to your usage reports, you're going to want to click on Meeting. And you want to make sure that you're in the Meeting Report. Click over here to Poll Report is the first step you're going to do. You want to select your date range, which is basically the meeting that you want to grab that poll from. In my case, it was June 23rd. You're going to click Search. Once that happens, you're going to get a list of meetings that occurred on that particular date. You find your meeting, and then you click on Generate. Once you click on Generate, your meetings are going to show up here. Make sure the report type says Poll Report. You'll click on Download. Once you click on Download, since I used Google Chrome as my web browser, my report showed up down here, so I can click down here and find my report. If you happen to use another web browser, you can find it in your Downloads folder. So it shouldn't be any issue. And what that report will look like, of course, is going to depend on what you did in creating your meeting, whether you had registration turned on, whether you clicked anonymous. The three things you want to remember is if registration was turned on for that poll meeting and the poll was not anonymous, the report will list all the participants' names and email addresses, as well as the answers to the questions that you asked. If registration was not on, the polling report's only going to show the profile names of the authenticated users, which is basically the name that they use to log in with and come into your meeting. If the poll was anonymous, it's only going to show anonymous for participants' names and email addresses, but it will still show you the answers that were given. And here's an example of that same poll that we used in our in our July 7th meeting, with the names and email addresses blurred to protect the innocent, of course. And you can see question 1, a lot of people answered yes and no, about the same as they did for our meeting here. How often to use polling? Pretty much the same. And everybody said gold and blue on the third question. So that's all I've got at this point. Do I have any questions on polling specifically? Or does anybody have any questions for Chris?
I don't see any in chat. Nope, I don't see any in chat. Well done, Jonah. Well done.
Thank you.
Do you mind, everybody, if I just take one last second to show you why interactivity is really, really important with this particular tool? And I'd say it's especially important if you're considering taking attendance, right, through a Zoom session, because watch this. Okay, so here we are, right? I watch this guy. He's hanging out. Oh! So this is a low-tech version. As you can see, someone says a video of yourself with slight nodding movements would be more realistic. Students are doing that. Okay, they are making videos of themselves sitting there going, oh, interesting, yeah. And they're not listening, they're not paying attention. So that's why these interactive tools really help, because they can't do that then. If they have to respond to a poll, there's got to be somebody there to click, right? If you go into a breakout room, people are going to understand pretty quickly that that's just what am I trying to say, like a cardboard cutout or something sitting there acting like it's you. But that's reality. I've seen some really pretty good ones out there that students have put together. So I just wanted to share that as kind of a final joke for why interactivity matters, is that, they do need to be engaged in this. That's they love face-to-face learning for the engagement, and they tend to slight online learning for the lack of engagement. And we've got this tool, so we really need to be using it to engage our folks. Any other questions that you have about anything that we've shown today? Well then, I will thank you all. Pretty, Joel says that's pretty cheeky when they could just leave their video off. Absolutely, it is pretty cheeky. So at that point, oh, thank you, Missy. Hey, we got a reaction, a couple thumbs up and some claps. Awesome, I really appreciate those. Thank you all for your time and for your attention. And please reach out to Jonah or myself if anything today isn't clear, or if you want to brainstorm and come up with some ideas for how you can use some of this. Thanks again, everybody, and take good care.